Before we start the movie, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our new content. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, you'll find the link in the description box. In today's story, we will follow the events of a movie about a 45-year-old woman who finds herself in a harsh psychological struggle after developing feelings for her nephew. She tries everything to resist and get rid of those emotions, but over time, she loses control, sending her life spiraling through a series of wrong decisions. So, how did this story begin? That's what we're about to find out. The events begin with a young man named Alexander, who is 18 years old and was living with his maternal grandfather, to whom he was deeply attached. However, his life turns upside down after his grandfather passes away, causing him to fall into a state of grief and psychological collapse, rendering him unable to lead his life normally. On the other hand, we get to know Josephine, who is the sister of Alexander's mother. After her father's death, she decides to take Alexander to her home to care for him, fulfilling a promise she made to her sister that she would take care of her son if he ever needed her. Since his arrival, Josephine tries to provide him with everything he needs. She prepares tea and some biscuits for him and asks him to eat something because he hasn't eaten since the morning, emphasizing that food will help him regain some of his energy. Alexander responds to her words, and after that, she helps him bathe, after he had completely neglected himself due to the shock he experienced following his grandfather's death. During those moments, Josephine begins to feel a strange attraction toward her nephew, something that shocks her and causes her to experience an internal conflict she had never experienced before. One night, Alexander goes to her and tells her that he cannot sleep alone because he is still afraid and affected by his grandfather's death, and he asks to sleep next to her. Despite her hesitation, she agrees to his request due to his psychological state, but his presence near her increases her distress and makes those thoughts control her even more. With the dawn of the next day, Josephine bathes and then stands to pray, begging God to forgive her for those feelings that have begun to creep into her heart. She was a deeply religious woman who spent most of her time in worship, and she was previously a nun, so she considered what she was feeling to be a great sin and tried to resist it with all her strength. After Alexander returns from school, Josephine notices that his feet are very dirty, so she takes him to bathe again, and while helping him, she discovers a deep wound in his waist area. She tells him that he must go to the hospital the next day to check on his injury. That night, the conflict inside her intensifies, so she decides to punish herself, tying iron wires around her feet as a form of atonement for the thoughts she is having, then continues to pray to God asking for forgiveness, repeating that merely thinking this way is something that should not happen. The following morning, she accompanies Alexander to the hospital, where the doctor examines him and asks him to get enough rest while avoiding going out often or exerting any effort until the wound heals completely. After returning home, Josephine devotes her time entirely to caring for Alexander until he fully recovers. After a while, she is forced to travel to another city due to her work, but she does not want to leave him alone, so she takes him with her, and after her work ends, they return home together. As the days pass, Josephine's feelings toward Alexander grow little by little, until she feels that she cannot live away from him. Because of her previous life as a nun, she had never experienced any romantic feelings before, so she did not know how to handle what she was feeling, and she found herself unable to control her emotions. One day, she receives a call from her sister, Alexander's mother, telling her that she is coming to take her son back. As soon as Josephine hears this news, she is overcome with anxiety and tension because she does not want Alexander to leave her home. When his mother actually arrives, Josephine tries to prevent her, telling her that Alexander is not at home, and also claims that he does not want to return to live with her, in an attempt to keep him by her side, despite realizing that what she is doing is not right. After Alexander's mother listened to Josephine's words, she did not engage in a long argument with her, but rather gave her phone number and said, "If Alexander comes back home, ask him to call me, as I want to talk to him about an important matter." Then she left the place in her car. However, when Alexander returned home, Josephine completely hid his mother's visit from him, and did not tell him that she had come looking for him or that she had left her phone number for him, because she was afraid that he might decide to return to live with his mother and move away from her. Several days pass, and in one of the scenes we see Alexander talking to one of his female classmates in the schoolyard. While he was busy talking to her, Josephine arrives at the place. As soon as she sees him talking to the girl, she feels intense jealousy, but she tries to hide her feelings. After the school day ends, the two return home by bus, and on the way, Josephine surprises him with a gift, a new phone, which makes Alexander very happy. The next day, his mother goes to the school to meet him herself. As soon as she sees him, she reproaches him saying, "I asked you to call me, why didn't you?" Alexander is surprised and answers her, "When did you ask me that?" Then she tells him that she went to Josephine's house, left her phone number with her, and asked her to tell him to call her as soon as he returned, and then asks him in astonishment, "Didn't Josephine tell you all this?" Alexander falls silent after hearing these words, and begins to realize that Josephine deliberately hid the truth from him. After the meeting ends, he returns home deep in thought, torn between staying with his aunt who cared for him and stood by his side, or returning to his mother. After much thought, he decides to stay with Josephine, out of appreciation for everything she has done for him since his grandfather's death. One night, Alexander goes out with his friends to attend a party and spends time with the girl he likes, but he drinks too much alcohol, causing his health condition to deteriorate significantly, forcing his friends to bring him back home. When Josephine sees him in that state, she helps him bathe to regain consciousness, but during that, and under the influence of alcohol, Alexander surprises her by kissing her. Josephine is deeply shocked, slaps him immediately, and screams at him saying, "What are you doing?" The next morning, Alexander confronts her with the truth after learning about his mother's visit, asking her angrily, "Why did you hide from me that she came looking for me? I had decided to go back to live with her, why did you do this to me?" At that moment, Josephine breaks down, tries to prevent him from leaving, and confesses that she does not want him to stay away from her because she has become so attached to him, begging him to stay with her, but Alexander refuses to listen to her and leaves the house with his mother. Despite returning to his mother's house, he does not feel comfortable there, as he did not receive the attention or treatment he found with Josephine. With the passage of time, he begins to miss the life he lived with her, and decides to return to her house once again. On the other hand, Josephine enters a bad psychological state after his departure, trying to get over what she feels. She changes her appearance, wears modern clothes, and agrees to go out on a date with a man, hoping to start a new life. During the meeting, she drinks a large amount of alcohol until she loses her balance, so the man takes advantage of her condition and takes her to an unknown place, where he mistreats her, then leaves her in front of her house and departs. At that moment, Alexander arrives at the house and finds Josephine in a miserable state, so he helps her enter and takes care of her until she regains consciousness and her condition improves. After this incident, Alexander returns to live with her again, beginning a new phase of the story between them, carrying a lot of complexities and psychological conflicts. If you liked the movie, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell button to receive everything new we present.